The Procyons are approximately 600 years more advanced than we are technologically. In that 600 years I include what the government, the secret government for a lack of better words, multinational corporations, the secret technology, reversed engineered technology that has been hidden from us. Here is a race that is 600 years more advanced than us. They were subverted the exact same way we are being subverted. TV, radio, the media, government, belief systems that absolutely were not real. They changed definitions and meanings of words that it meant one thing when I was a kid to something else that is completely opposite to my children. This causes more conflict and confusion. They did everything they could to make sure that the people who were righteous and moral were considered square and old-fashioned. To be decadent was then in fashion. I could go on, but you are intelligent and know what I mean. It took approximately 100 years to literally change enough generations that they couldn't remember what their ancestors stood for. Does any of this sound familiar? The New Jersey 5th grade textbooks talks about the forming of the United States. They have taken out our references to George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, not even mentioned. It is interesting that you can even go to that subject information and not mention those two. But, they managed to do it. The Procyons were suppressed. All thought was monitored with the use of technology, what we would know as satellites today. They implanted and branded every person on their planet they could find with a mark. The censorship of thought is literally what occurred. The entire civilization of that star system began to die. Its spirit was slowly being suppressed because their age limit was about 100 years of age, about 30 to 35 years more than the average here. The ET races that were there lived an average of 2,000 years of age. It was nothing to do a short tour of duty managing this solar system and this particular people, this race. They did this, controlling the planet. They took away all space travel because of its lack of natural resources. At that time they were using fuel, not petroleum, but something else that was flammable in the spacecraft. The planet ran out of most of their natural resources. So now, nobody had any way to get off their planet. They were then managed from moons in Procyon's star system. Are you following me? Now, they have control of the high ground, so to speak. The Orion group is made up of 18 different star systems. The Orions are managing this particular star system. What happened was that a group of women got together and formed a women's circle. This planet is called Arvika without the negative connotation. In the women's circle, they got together, they talked, they prayed, and they meditated. They found out that whenever they got together in this circle they could make things happen. They could make things manifest. They could create opportunity. They would slowly bring in more women. They would start raising their daughters that way. They learned to hide the children from the system and raise them in this idea that they could in fact create and manipulate physicality with their minds, and it spread. It took approximately 134 years. That is how long it took to undo what had been done to them, 2 whole generations. Here on Earth it would be 3 or 4 generations. What they did was to start to teach some of the old ways. Many of the women became mediums. They began to tap into other consciousnesses that were sending information that had been there all along, but nobody was listening because they were too busy. Too busy buying more toys, more cars, more DVDs, etc. I am using that as an example. I don't know what they really had. But they were so focused on some external stimulus that they forgot about the inside. That was their downfall. They did not balance the two. We are exactly in that same place. We are not balancing the inside and the outside. We are not balanced on the inside and the outside, not at all. I'm not always either. The Procyons grew. The women formed circles all over their worlds. Their participating star systems connected with others through the use of these mediums, never doubting the information they were getting. I can't tell you any more about that because I don't know. Literally what happened was that they created the 10% shift in consciousness. The men, who were the most oppressed, the most controlled, the most beaten down, the most emotionally shut down because they had to be constantly in the warrior space to survive and take care of their families. The men lost their compassion, their sensitivity, and their intuitiveness. The men were virtually useless. It was very easy to push their buttons. When that happened you automatically get a response, a violent response. This is opposed to taking a step back and saying, "Whoa, I am being manipulated. What am I doing?" That wasn't happening. It was the women whom had the nerve, the guts, the strength, and the courage to step out of the bullshit and take a look and said that we need to something anyway. In the 134 years what happened was that they began to rebel. They became more intuitive. Men became more compassionate about their families. What happened was that they found soul. The entire star system of Procyon became one group soul again. Everybody was automatically on the same page. It wasn't about Joe, the next door neighbor. It wasn't about Louis across the street. It was about everybody getting the yoke of tyranny off their necks. It all came together in everything they did with the one goal in mind. To this day, the leaders of those worlds are women. The men have their role. They are still men. They have not been stripped of their manhood or anything like that. The truth is that the women make the most logic. They make the most common sense. They are the ones that have the babies. They know guys. We'll never know that part. How precious life is and was. Will that work on Earth? I don't know. The Procyons at that point, once they started to rebel, their consciousness was projected out into space. The handlers were absolutely not prepared for that much of a unification of energy. They absolutely were not prepared for it. They were only trained to take it apart, and it wasn't working anymore. The Orion group was only trained to take it apart. Once it was apart, man had changed. The truth is, once the people decided that is enough, they pulled their energies together. They became one huge community within the star system. The Orions were absolutely not prepared for it. What happened then was that the Procyons called for help. The Pleiadians from Tegeta and a group of Moth people from Alpha Centauri showed up and helped them. I want you to know that there are at least 3 motherships in our solar system that are from Procyon. They volunteered. They know all about this group. They have been doing this for thousands and thousands of years. We are not the only star system that they have tweaked. Taking all that into consideration, the first goal is the issue. The issue is that we are not a community here. We have been taken apart. Does that mean that we have to see eye to eye on everything? No, not because we won't. But there is a thing about mutual respect. There is the idea that this is a small planet. It is our home. We only have so much water. We only have so much natural resources. Who controls it? Does it benefit everyone? You already know the answer to that. It is all about control, and you have no say-so about any of this whatsoever. There is an old song by Bob Dylan. I don't remember the name of it, but I do remember this line. In order to be honest, you have to step outside the law. That is kind of what it feels like. It still amazes me that people think that we are the only ones in the galaxy. There can't possibly be other life out there. What is even more baffling to me is that they can look at the world the way it is going and think that we have this great future coming, this marvelous future coming. We are running out of air, water, the polar caps are melting. All the governments are corrupt. Politicians are corrupt, and they still think this is it. This is awesome. I can't believe they still have more babies. I remember in a contact, we were talking about education. Vaside was telling me about how they educate their children. On their world, as is with many other worlds, teachers are the rock stars. They are given the highest honors in their society. They are the ones that teach the future generations. I have had a lot of time to think about that now that I have son going into kindergarten, my oldest. We're having to deal firsthand with the school system. It is scary, real scary. They are the first to admit that it doesn't work, but they are going to do it anyway. It is like you know that the car won't start, but you get in and try it anyway. You just sit there and try to turn the wheel. Here, the teachers are starving and we worship the rock stars, or the guys that plays in a band, or the guy that can shoot basketballs through this little hoop. That's who we worship, and you know we have some serious problems. I don't expect people to go out and save the world. That is not what I am asking for. I'll tell you exactly what I am asking for. I am asking you to create the space to work on your inside, work on yourselves. That is the part of you that is going to be transitioning to another dimension. That is the part of you that leaves the physical body when your body dies. That is you, not this body shell. I want you to work on that and we'll get through this. You are awesome, just awesome. Reincarnation is a fact. I am not going to stand up here and try to prove it to you. You have to figure that out for yourselves. The soul goes on. It continues to educate itself. It experiences the extremes of emotion. It wasn't meant to sit in a chair and watch TV. That is not what it was built for. That is self-sabotage when you get addicted to outside stimulation. Sure, it is imperative to know what is going on around you. It is the manner in which you know it. Do you know it from what you see? what the conscious mind tells you? Or, do you know it from an intuitive place? That place is soul. Most don't, and it is really time to invest in that part of you. There is no right way to do it. You don't have to do yoga. You don't have to meditate. You don't have to get those little bells that go cling, cling, cling. You don't need to do any of that stuff. Everybody has their own thing. Me, I like to go for a walk. I want to be in nature. I want to be in the world. I want to get as close to an elk as I can. That's my thing. Walk like an Indian. That is where I find time. I am a much better person when I come back. You all have to create your own ritual, no matter what it is. Even if it's sewing or knitting, whatever helps you to get into the zone. It is imperative that you do that.